This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back. It is hour number 2 of Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Femi, Abebefe, Ben Stevens hanging out with you guys on this Tuesday. Thank you to Adam Burke, our VSiN managing editor, who joined us in the last segment to help us promote the VSiN MLB betting guide. Once again, VSiN.com/guide, $19.99 for the entire MLB season. You need to absolutely take advantage of that offer. You should also take advantage of this offer, as we are sponsored. It's this segment sponsored by our friends over at Upside here on Money Moves. Turn your gas purchases into real cash back with the free Upside app. Download Upside now and use promo code SPORTS for 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. That is Upside. Once again, sports is the promo, 25 cents back per gallon on the first fill up. All right, Ben, we are 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. Our best bets a little bit later on in the program. Dalen Cuff of Turner Sports and Field of 68, college basketball betting analyst. He'll be joining us in 30 minutes as we get his thoughts on what is going to be a monster week in college hoops with that Sunday. I guess, I don't even know what the name is for it. We can't say it's the Final Four because that's not until April, but it's like a Final Four preview or whatever we want to call it. Maybe this is the real first four. We got to come up with some kind of term for what Saturday is going to be, because that is one of those days where you just sit down, you park your butt on the couch, crack open a cold one, and you enjoy high-level college hoops.
Number 2, Houston. Number 4, Arizona. Number 1, Michigan. Number 3, Duke, in a rare non-conference game near the end of February. As good as you could ever dream of for a Saturday late in February that will certainly feel like a preview, I guess, of things not even to happen in March, Femi, but like you said, early April, Final Four Saturday night in Indianapolis. I saw this stat from Matt Norlander of CBS Sports, who, of course, is one of the best in covering college basketball. This is just the 3rd time ever on a regular season day. On that same day, we have the top 4 teams in the country all squaring off against one another, including the NCAA tournament. Like our Final Four from a season ago, it is just the 5th time ever that we have seen the top 4 teams in the country ranked in that AP Top 25 face off. So it is a rare and very special day of college basketball on Saturday, but it feels that way the entirety of this week. Last night, a top 6 showdown in Ames between Iowa State and Houston. Big Monday in the Big 12 just continues to deliver week after week. We have another top 10 showdown tonight inside Mackey Arena. Number 7, Purdue, and that newly anointed number 1 team in the nation, Michigan. We've got so much great college basketball this week. It is going to be an insane time, and so happy to have Dalen here in hour number 2 to help us make sense of it all.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun catching up with Dalen Cuff there. Like, as good as it gets in terms of breaking down the sport of college basketball. And like you outlined, this is going to be one hell of a week, and it's going to kind of set the table because football just ended. But this will set the table for a lot of people that are looking to dive into college basketball, saying, hey, what's been going on? All right, what have I been missing out? Well, this is the great week to parachute in and watch some college basketball. Speaking of the National Football League, though, Ben, we did see news earlier this morning that the Seattle Seahawks, the defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks, are unlikely to franchise tag or transition tag Super Bowl MVP running back Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is entering his free agency, and not often do we see a Super Bowl MVP go right into free agency. I mean, you want to talk about how, like, great timing for this guy? I mean, like, it's as great a timing as you can imagine. I mean, Joe Flacco was coming up on his deal when he was a free. They never let him hit the market, but he was coming up on his deal. He cashed in. We've seen guys like Larry Brown, Desmond Howard, Dexter Jackson, Super Bowl MVPs entering free agency. Kenneth Walker likely to cash in once he is out there on the open market, as it looks like at least the defending Super Bowl champion Seahawks are going to be missing one of their key pieces heading into the upcoming season.
Today starts that 2-week window of the franchise and transition tags that can be handed down around the National Football League. We have 2 weeks And then 8 days after that, Wednesday, March 11th, is the start of the new league year in the NFL in 2026. You see the Seahawks right alongside their NFC West mates with the return of Matthew Stafford as the co-favorites to win a second consecutive Lombardi Trophy in Super Bowl 61 in Los Angeles at plus 950. Perhaps it is surprising, Femi, that the Seahawks are going to let Kenneth Walker III test the open market at the conclusion of his 4-year rookie deal. But when you think about running backs and when you think about how the National Football League works and all the money Seattle is going to have to put to retaining most of that roster, it has already been shared. They already want to do the contract negotiation for that second deal for Jackson Smith-Njigba, which is very smart. Get ahead of the market before his final year, entering that 5th and final year of that rookie contract. And we talked about this earlier to start the opening hour of Money Moves on this Tuesday afternoon. The franchise tag value right now for a running back is not what it was just a few years ago. $9 million or so. It is $14.5 million. If the Seahawks slapped the franchise tag on Kenneth Walker III, he would become the 4th highest paid running back in the National Football League on the franchise tag alone. Wow. So thus it makes sense that Seattle, looking at things fiscally, is trying to find a different way of doing this. They also have Zach Charbonnet under the final year of his rookie deal upcoming in 2026.
And it's not just Kenneth Walker. When you take a look at the guys who could potentially be franchise tagged, ESPN's Adam Schefter, the NFL insider, he was listing out some of the potential tag candidates earlier this morning. Obviously, Walker, we know, is not going to get tagged. But guys like Cowboys wide receiver George Pickens. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I mean, I'm already just like dreading the contract talks for like the 4th, 5th consecutive year once again. Like it's every offseason. Like it's Dak, it's CeeDee Lamb, it's Michael Parsons. Now it's going to be George Pickens this upcoming season as the soap opera continues and the drought, unfortunately, continues as well for America's team. But the Indianapolis Colts, Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce, those are guys that could get the franchise tag. We'll see what they want to do with Daniel Jones. He, of course, coming off of the torn Achilles. Like, that's a big thing that they'll have to factor in. Alec Pierce, very likely to hit the open market, barring something unforeseen. The Atlanta Falcons, Kyle Pitts, Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals, who did this whole dance last year when he was holding out. Breece Hall with the Jets. There are some guys. It's not the sexiest free agent class. So as bettors, that's one thing to kind of keep in mind when you'll see the money flowing and the names coming up here in about 5 weeks once March Madness is underway. These aren't necessarily all like needle movers. There are guys who will help out and guys who will be nice additions, but these aren't needle movers once you start looking towards the win totals or the futures market once we get these signings when free agency begins at the new league year.
And Femi, it feels like the last few off seasons around the National Football League, we have had those headline movers in terms of the franchise tag conversation. Just a few short years ago, it was Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. The past 2 years, basically in Cincinnati, it's been the conversation around T. Higgins and what the Bengals are going to do at the wide receiver spot to keep Joe Burrow very, very happy. Just so we mention on Daniel Jones, again, it is not just trying to keep this player in-house and not letting him test what that contract might be worth on the open market. It is the value of the franchise tag as the salary cap continues to go up, and up, and continuously increased by large millions of dollars around the NFL. The projected QB franchise tag is a little bit north of $47 million. Is Daniel Jones worth that even for 1 year? Probably not. It was because of that 1 year value, a 1 year deal worth around $14 million, I believe, for Danny Dimes this year in Indy that before the injuries made so much sense, and of course why it was so successful for both Daniel Jones and the Colts as a franchise. It is one of the reasons that you must always look at what is that projected franchise tag value, where does it slot individual player among the annual average value for their position group around the National Football League, and if you're at $47 million for Daniel Jones, is he worth that money? If you're at $14.5 million, even for a Super Bowl MVP like Kenneth Walker III, is the value necessarily there for the franchise?
The Daniel Jones part of this, that's where it's really interesting because they called Phillip Rivers to try to save the day. Clearly that didn't work out, although it was still kind of a crazy story. Nonetheless, seeing old man Phillip Rivers out there playing quarterback coming off of the sidelines of high school football coaching. But Anthony Richardson has not shown that he can be dependable. He's injured all the time, and even when he is out there, it doesn't look like he's really developing at the rate at which they thought he would develop when they made him a top 5 pick a handful of years ago. With all that said, though, still, I'm not so sure I'd be comfortable committing all that money to Daniel Jones. Like, I know we've had the reclamation projects with Sam Darnold has been the poster boy for that. But, like, do you really want to pay that kind of money for Daniel Jones? I don't think I would. And if they do pay that money to Daniel Jones, I think the Colts are a team for me from a betting standpoint to win big things. I'm crossing off the list. Like, to win Super Bowl, win the AFC, nope, do not consider them. Maybe they can go over their win total, but I'm not thinking that this team can all of a sudden go out there and win big as we saw the Seahawks do with Darnold this past season.
Yeah, and that was because of the value, right? Even Sam Darnold, who was one of the hottest free agent quarterback names, signed a deal that was 3 years, $110 million in the mid-30s. We have seen that deal kind of replicated a few times the past few off seasons. Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers, a 3-year deal that was worth around $33 million per year. And when you are seeing quarterback salaries on an annual average value top $50 million pretty consistently and easily, that's what you're looking for to make the value back up. And it also allows you, if you are not spending a ton on the quarterback, to then fill out the rest of the roster, to have a team like Seattle did this year that is great everywhere, especially defensively. It results in a Super Bowl championship. And Femi, one last point about franchise tags as well. It's the 2-week window that the team has over these next 2 weeks, starting today through Tuesday, March 3rd, to slap down the franchise or transition tag. But then you basically have until early July, right before training camp begins around the NFL, to renegotiate and come to a long-term contract extension, even with a guy that is placed under the franchise tag. So that is how they just don't test the open market. They don't see what their value is really worth. And then you are negotiating only against the player and his representation. Again, that is at the behest of the NFL franchise.
And I'm sure the player and his representation is going to say, hey, you're going to pay us at this tag rate. So, like, if the Seahawks ever tagged Kenneth Walker, he's like, oh, well, give me $14 million per year. That's what I want, because that's what the tag says I am worth. That's the tricky part of the whole deal. But there's a whole bigger conversation to be had about quarterback and value after what we saw with the Seattle Seahawks this past season. We have a lot of offseason to get into all of that. We'll update you guys on what's going on in the Olympics with the men's hockey game, as well as Major League Baseball when we come back on Money Moves.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back. It's Money Moves. It's Femi Abebefe. It's Ben Stevens. It's the VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. 15 minutes from now, we'll be joined by Dalen Cuff, college basketball analyst for Turner Sports, Field of 68. We'll get his thoughts on the slate of games we have this week in college hoops. And Dalen's got some plays for us. We're not just elitists here. I tend to be an elitist when it comes to college basketball betting, but we're dumpster diving, as some might say, with Dalen coming up in 15 minutes. So very much looking forward to that conversation in the next segment here. But want to update the folks on the Olympic men's hockey game that is going on right now over in Milan, as we're now into the medal round. Now we're playing for keeps. It's win or go home, and Latvia taking on Sweden. Sweden in the live markets minus 1,300 against Latvia at plus 700. The total sitting at 5.5. We are still scoreless in that game, but that's an important game to keep an eye on, because the winner will take on the Stars and Stripes, Team USA, tomorrow in the quarterfinal round. So Latvia, Sweden winner will take on Team USA, as Team USA is awaiting who will come out victorious in this afternoon's game. So we'll keep our eyes on that one. Once again, scoreless. Sweden, though, a massive minus 1,300 favorite against Latvia. It is interesting, though, Ben, because in the first hour, we had VSiN managing editor Adam Burke with us to talk all things Major League Baseball, as today is a happy guide day for the VSiN MLB betting guide that dropped. And we encourage everyone, VSiN.com/guide, just $19.99 to take advantage of that offer. But baseball's approaching, and a lot of the conversation this offseason with baseball has been about the impending lockout in 2027. Now, like, I'm sure at some point on the prediction market, you'll be able to bet on whether there will be a lockout or not. Believe me, I was looking. I was like, hey, is there something that we can do here with this? It is not up there right now, but I'm assuming at some point in the calendar year 2026, it will be up there. But what I find it most interesting with it is when you look at the betting markets and you compare it to public perception with how baseball is structured, because everyone thinks, oh, the Dodgers are just going to win again. They've won back-to-back World Series. It's inevitable. Why are we playing the season? To that, I would say, well, put your money where your mouth is. If you truly believe that nobody else can compete, no one else has a chance, plus 230 is right there. Now you got to tie your money up, but I mean, it sounds like the way people are talking that it's risk-free investment. I don't believe that, because I believe baseball is a random sport, and we literally just watched the Dodgers get pushed to the brink by the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. But man, I'm getting sick and tired of all these people being like, you know what? Oh, the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Well, then just bet on them and make money, man, or shut up. Like, honestly, that's how I feel about this thing. There's a chance to profit, or like most of us, let's see how the season goes, because injuries happen, sports happen, and it's not just a foregone conclusion, in my opinion.
Femi, it's always the off-season conjecture basically in every single sport. You bemoan the worst things about how the sport is constructed, and then once the actual games are played, we forget all of those off-season storylines and we focus on the actual action, like we saw this past October into early November when the Dodgers had to win a Game 6 on the road and then go into the Great White North for a second consecutive time and outlast the Blue Jays in one of the all-time great Game 7s that we have ever seen. And I think if you are a baseball fan, even of teams like the Kansas City Royals or the Cleveland Guardians, or enter X team that you don't believe has the capital to compete with the LA Dodgers, you love every second of what that World Series looked like. But I do get it, right? It feels like the Dodgers have cracked the code. It feels like they are playing in their own tax bracket and who they are willing to invest in and bring to Los Angeles, because they have not only won 2 consecutive World Series, looking for their 3rd straight, they have added Edwin Diaz and Kyle Tucker, who was one of the top free agents this offseason, this past winter. It is why you see a plus 230 price. The Yankees have the second best number at 10-1. Plus 230 to 10-1. I am no mathematician, but Femi, I know that is 3/4 lower than every other team around in Major League Baseball. That is how short of a favorite the Dodgers are to win a 3rd consecutive World Series, something we have not seen in Major League Baseball since those Yankees of 1998 through 2000. But to Femi's point, the Dodgers were a ridiculously short favorite entering 2024 and in 2025. And I know what everybody will say. And they ended up cashing that ticket. There is no doubt. But the Dodgers did not win 115 games each of the past 2 years, making the entirety of a summer feel non-competitive, and October basically be a sweep in all 3 series they needed to play to win a World Series. There are ways of betting on baseball. There are ways of consuming Major League Baseball that are still very enjoyable and often can be profitable because of how strong of a favorite the Dodgers are in basically every single betting market that involves LA.
100%. That's to me more how I would look at this whole thing with the Dodgers. It's like, take a look at it, because the Dodgers price is making sure that there's value on other prices as well out there and other teams. So I don't know why everyone's just like, oh, Dodgers this, Dodgers that. It's like, man, they're plus 230. It's like, they're not minus 10,000 to win the World Series. You know, this is not like a guarantee that they're going to win the World Series. They still have to go out there and win those games and beat the other teams. So I think that there's a chance to bet on other teams out there this upcoming baseball season. So I think that that's more so how we should be looking at the MLB World Series markets here, as opposed to looking at this as some sort of like doom and gloom of one team is just going to beat everybody and no one else is going to be close to competing here. No, it's like other teams can win as well. Like the Dodgers almost lost last year in the World Series. We all watched Game 7, Game 6 last year in the World Series and how tremendous those games were. It was not a foregone conclusion. So, yeah, that's more so my opinion on this whole thing here. If you think the Dodgers are inevitable, then go out there and bet it at plus 230. It's right there for you to take advantage of that betting market. So that's where things sit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What about the Seattle Mariners, Femi? 13-1, your team from your hometown, the M's. Part of those, I would say, the crew that could be the ones to unseat the Dodgers, perhaps, in the World Series market. That might be a way of considering things. And to Adam Burke's point earlier, you see the two next best prices from teams from the National League, 14-1 on two teams that play in the same division, the Phils and the Mets, with the Braves at 16-1. The three next best prices to win a World Series all hail from the American League because of the idea value is elsewhere. The Yankees always have a Yankees taxable price. The M's at 13-1, and the team that just tested the Dodgers in 7 games, the Blue Jays at 14-1. I think the look at the Detroit Tigers is a great one because of all of the offseason conversation. That Tarek Skubal is the next big name that might hit the open market to make his way to play in Dodger Blue. He's not in 2026. He's still in the Motor City, the 2-time reigning American League Cy Young winner. So I think there's a lot of value on the Tigers. There's value to be had, and that should be a fun thing, especially because there's 162 games until that ticket can be cashable at the end of a long run in October and November in a Major League Baseball season.
You know what's so interesting, though, about this whole conversation about the Dodgers and how they go about their team building and the deferred money and all this stuff? Because a lot of reporters have been going out there throughout spring training and asking star players, hey, what do you make of the Dodgers and how they've gone about their team building? Earlier today, Padres star Fernando Tatis Jr., he kind of echoed the sentiments of Manny Machado and Bryce Harper on the Dodgers spending, saying, quote, if you want to go and win it all, that's the right way to do it. That, of course, is a courtesy of Rowan Cavner, MLB Fox Sports reporter. He tweeted that out, some of Tatis's comments from earlier today. Like, the players clearly don't have any issues with it because they want as many teams out there to be spending. And I think the biggest issue here for me, as like a baseball fan, it would be a salary floor. Like, that's what is needed so that teams at least have to spend X amount of dollars to compete and field rosters. We can't have teams out here with a payroll of $35 million or $40 million. Like, no, like that's barely a Major League Baseball team. Like, we need teams that are going to be out there actively spending and not looking to just make money. I think that's what would improve the product more so than anything. And hopefully some of these smaller market teams get a little bit more aggressive out there. Like, the players want people spending, but I think as fans as well, we should want that because that's going to give us the best product and most competitive baseball, which is what we all want to see at the end of the day.
Yeah, no doubt. And there was that big development early today, as Adam Burke alluded to, that MLBPA chief, Major League Baseball Player Association's chief, Tony Clark, stepping down. That was a surprise. That was not expected. He was supposed to be in spring training, meeting with clubs throughout this month leading into 2026. Of course, as conversations continue entering the 2027 MLB offseason. There were reports that Tony Clark was supposed to be a part of the PA meeting with the Cleveland Guardians on this Tuesday afternoon to kind of start that tour. Because, Femi, as of this Tuesday afternoon, all 30 Major League Baseball clubs have in full, not just pitchers and catchers, but have fully reported for spring training, with our first spring training games coming up on Friday. So that's always an interesting development for the next offseason. But as this offseason winds down in 2026, let's get ready for some baseball. It's always a beautiful thing. Hope springs eternal for every organization, and for us that always just looks forward to America's pastime.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back. It's Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Femi, Abebefe, Ben Stevens, kicking it with you guys here on a Tuesday as we're absolutely fired up for this week in college basketball, in particular tonight, and to help us get ready for the college hoops that's coming up tonight as well as the rest of this week. We're bringing in one of the absolute best in the game when it comes to breaking down college hoops. College basketball betting analyst for Turner Sports, Field to 68, NBC. You see him and you absolutely love him. The one and only Dalen Cuff joining us here on Money Moves on Twitter at Dalen Cuff as he joins us via the Progressive guest line. Dalen, we appreciate the time as always. This Saturday, everyone's been circling this Saturday and the monster showdowns we had between Michigan and Duke, Arizona and Houston. If you had to pick one of those teams to not make the Final Four this year, who would it be and why?
Ooh, I was wondering where we're going with this question. I like it, Fem. Let's go with, we're actually going with Duke, Femi. This is the situation with Duke right now is like, I think they have the National Player of the Year in Cameron Boozer. I don't think many people, that's not a novel concept. He's been the favorite now for probably about 2.5 months. And I think that's going to be a pretty secure ticket in cashing. That said, the other teams, I think, have a more balanced approach and way in which to hurt you. I think they do some things better. Houston is one of the best defensive teams in the country. Michigan, we've seen their best is probably better than anybody. We've seen that. Now, their variances can be kind of great in times, and even within a game from one half to the next. But they're great. Their top end is still great. When you look at Arizona, I still think they're the most consistent team. Their floor is they have the lowest floor, I feel like, despite coming off back-to-back losses. They have adversity. Kobe Pete's injured. I think you need to go through some of that stuff to get to your ultimate spot. So I think in terms of getting to the Final Four, winning a championship, I think Duke is the team that is least set to do it. I think Patrick Gamba, when he's out of that lineup, that team is different. So he gets in foul trouble sometimes. They are absolutely different. You saw it at the weekend against Clemson. The first half, he takes 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes. They struggle in that half. They're defensively not as dominant. They don't rebound as well. They don't have much as an interior presence. And then the second half, he's back and he helps them. So his impact on that team is great. I think also we are continuing to see who will be the second or third scorer outside of Cam Boozer and who's going to step up. And I do think the last part that challenges them within their league still is the ACC is better than it's been in years past. Okay. But that's more of a comment on how bad the league is versus how good it has in top end teams. There aren't that many teams that can compete with these guys and push them. And we've seen them get in late game situations and struggle. That Carolina game, I'm still shocked they lost that game. Still can't believe how that game went down. But late game, the ball's going to be in Boozer's hands, and how and what they run for him is going to determine that team's success or failure when it comes against the best team. So I think that as good as they are, as talented as they are, probably the most NBA players, they're a younger group. They still have questions around their third and fourth pieces. I mentioned how much I like Gamba. So compared to those other three, I just feel like I have less questions about them and less doubt that they will get to the final weekend of the season.
And those 4 teams not only ranked in the top 4 spots in the AP top 25, but the 4 best prices to win a national championship, including the favorite and the new number 1 team in the nation, Dalen, that being Michigan. Number 1, Michigan on the road tonight, visiting one of the great atmospheres in the sport inside Mackey Arena against number 7 Purdue. The Wolverines, a slight 2.5-point road favorite. Tonight's total stands at 157.5 in West Lafayette. A top 10 tilt in the Big Ten. What do you expect the result to be?
It's a tough call. I mean, I think this is some of your bias playing, and I want to see a good game. I do think both these teams are comfortable playing at pace. They both can score. Now, Michigan's defense has proven to be elite, and that is the difference in this game. Is Michigan's defense can be elite at the rim and on the perimeter, whereas Purdue's can be taken advantage of. And now I do think Dusty May has more weapons to play with. He can go a little smaller in his lineup, and not small, but he can take a Daimara off and have a little more versatility. He can put him on there and have a little more defensive, let's say, solidity at the rim, but also give a bit on the outside in terms of switching and what they can do with Morris Johnson when he plays the 5. All that said is, I think this game, I would like to see this game played in the 80s. I would like to lean toward an over. I think the play really, though, is Michigan. And Michigan, if you want to lay the juice, little money line. I think this is going to be a tight game in Mackey. I think Purdue has proven, though, that Mackey, is as great as environment it is, they've not protected it that well this year. I mean, they've gotten run once. They lost in a tight one they've lost a couple times there, and some have been ugly, like Iowa State. Some have been competitive, like blank in the last game, but they've bet Wisconsin, or Nebraska. So they've had games that were tight, but that they did not perform as well as I thought they would at home. That said, I don't love this game relative to other stuff on the slate tonight, but I do think that Michigan in a money line game will show us their top end speed, if you will. Like I said, they have the highest ceiling. I think we see that tonight against Purdue.
This is Money Moves. Femi, Abebefe, Ben Stevens hanging out with college basketball analyst Dalen Cuff. Does awesome work for Turner Sports, Field of 68, and NBC. On Twitter at Dalen Cuff. Let's get to some of the stuff that you do love tonight on the betting card. Florida, South Carolina, a game where we're going to see the defending national champions who are starting to peak as we're closing down the stretch run here in the regular season. They're laying 23 at home against South Carolina. Totals 155. How are you looking to attack that game between the Gamecocks and the Gators?
Just real quick on the peaking at the right time, guys. The last couple of weeks I've been on different shows here on VSiN. I've been banging the drum as it's gone from around 25-1. I think I just saw it on the show here, 15-1 for the Gators to repeat and win a title. That number I think is going to keep coming down. They are playing like one of the top 3 teams in the country, but their ranking still doesn't reflect that. Their odds are starting to reflect that. They have the best front court in the country. They are absolutely dominant. All those guys, whether it's Chinelu, Condon, Hauk, Handlocken, they all won a championship last year. Some of them were very integral, and particularly Chinelu and Hauk in winning a title and playing in those games. They know exactly what it's about. You now have a title-winning staff, and you also have guards that are starting to play at a higher level and more consistently. Xavier Lee, Boogie Flan, those are the big-name guys, but Clavtar off the bench has been great. Brown, the freshman, he's been making threes. If this team starts making threes, fellas, look out. They've been shooting at like 30% this year. In league play, it's up around 31. If they keep taking good ones, like they had the last 6, 7, 8 games, they're going to be in a good spot. They have covered 9 of the last 11 and won 10 of the last 11. In this game, that number's a little too big. I do think they're going to blow South Carolina out. The backdoor concerns me. I really think South Carolina's inability to score will be on display again. Now, when they played up in South Carolina, 48 points was abysmal. Now, I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I think it's going to be close. Like this team getting into the 60s would be not surprising, but it's going to be an effort because they have to score in the interior. They don't shoot the ball well. And as I just mentioned, the interior of Florida's defense and offense is where they own things. They also own the glass on both sides. The Gamecocks do not offensive rebound. They're not going to be offensive rebounding in this game. They don't get fouled a ton. They have problems manufacturing points. All that said is the team total under 65 and a hook for the Gamecocks is the play I like most in this game with Florida.
Florida has been so impressive. 10-2, the top spot in the SEC. They have covered in 9 of those 10 conference wins. And Dalen, to your point, the defense continues to be highly efficient. They have gone under in 6 of their last 8. Speaking of good defenses around the sport, and one of the best stories in college basketball this year, it is St. Louis, number 18 in the country, 24-1, looking for a 19th consecutive win tonight on the road against Rhode Island. It is now just a 9.5-point spread in favor of Josh Schertz and his Billikens. The total 152.5. What's the approach for this matchup in the A-10 tonight?
Just real quick with St. Louis too, they are a crazy play against Stanford, a way of being 24-0, of being an unbeaten record right now. That was a wild last-second play. They fouled up 3. Make a free throw, miss a free throw, bang a 3 for the Cardinal, and you lose a game by 1. It doesn't really happen. The numbers don't shake out like that. They did in that instance, and they are just that close to being undefeated. This team is the class of the A-10 by far. But this building, URI is going to have a decent crowd there tonight, and that place is going to rock. They're going to bring a great effort. Now, what Archie Miller's teams do is they play slow. They do not want to play fast. They want to grind this thing into a half-court game. They have played better at home, and they have made more shots at home. That said, South Carolina's St. Louis, one of the fastest teams in the country, getting up and down. They want to play in transition. I think Archie's crew is going to make this a half-court game, going to make it a grinded-out game. I don't want to play the spread because I still think even in a low-scoring game, you could see St. Louis cover in this. I do think 152.5 is too high. I like the under in this situation in a game that's played in the mid to high 140s, mostly because of URI's inability to manufacture offense easily, but also the pace of this game I think is going to be slower. St. Louis doesn't turn the ball over that much in league play. They have to do that tonight. If they take care of the ball, I think they're able to win this game in a tighter one than people think and ultimately hit the under.
Dalen, we got about a minute left. You mentioned Florida as kind of like being a little bit overlooked right now by the betting market. Who do you think is the most underrated team in the country? Because folks are always looking for those dark horses for their brackets or whether it's for the bets. Who do you think is that team that we might not be talking about enough as we inch closer and closer to March?
In terms of winning it, I think it is Florida. I thought it was last year. Remember in December of last year, they hadn't played anybody and they were unbeaten and they were 25. It was a very similar situation, but we hadn't seen them do it yet. We hadn't seen them perform yet. We've seen it now, and we know that their staff has done it. We know the team, part of the team has done it, so we get that. The other one that I think is really interesting, and it's notwithstanding what happened at the weekend, I still think Kansas is really appealing. This is a team that without Darren Peterson, they are still a top 10 defensive team. They're going to be in a ton of games. you've seen what Melvin Council can do. And I think the end of the country now is aware of everything's going with Peterson because it was big Monday after the Super Bowl. He didn't play in a game. And holy crap, the number one pick in the draft's not playing. And everybody figured out what we've been talking about in college basketball for 2 months. We understand the situation. I think Bill Self has handled it well. I think the team right now is like, hey, we're going to hoop. And if you want to play, we got you. They figured out how to play with him. They're learning how even to play better without him. And they're going to continue to improve, I think. And defensively, they can always hang their hats there. If you have the best coach and probably the best player in college basketball in March and they're full go, 25-1 right now is a good number, especially if they run that gauntlet with the Big 12. And that number will come down over the next couple of weeks if they perform at a high level.
They are one of the more dynamic teams with Peterson, one of the more dynamic players. He is Dalen Cuff. We appreciate him here on VSiN Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back. It's the final segment of Money Moves here on VSiN. Femi, Abebefe, Ben Stevens hanging with you guys on this Tuesday. Thank you to Dalen Cuff, college basketball analyst for Field of 68, Turner Sports, NBC, joining us in the last segment. Dalen giving us his best bets for tonight. Ben and I will get to our best bets momentarily, but I do want to update the folks right now for a game that's happening over in Milan as we turn our attention briefly here to the Olympic men's hockey side of things. Sweden with a 2-0 lead right now on Latvia. Of course, this game important because the winner of this game will take on Team USA tomorrow in the quarterfinals as we're now into the medal round. Sweden right now minus 20,000 on the live money line. If anyone wants to go out there and win some pennies, if you're confident in the Swedes to hold on to this one and take care of business. They're laying 3.5 on the puck line, but you still have to pay a little bit of juice on that one, minus 215. Your in-game total is at 6.5 here, but Team USA, Ben, as we heard from our guy Jonathan Davis, our hockey betting analyst here at VSiN, they're going to have their hands full with Sweden if Sweden ultimately pulls this off against Latvia. Does not look like this is going to be some cakewalk to the gold medal game for the United States, despite having a roster filled with NHL stars up and down the board. So if you're a Team USA fan or Team USA bettor, keep an eye on this Sweden team because if this is the matchup that we get tomorrow. Hold on to your seats there because this one's going to be a little bit more difficult than we maybe thought going into these Milano Cortina games here at the Winter Olympics.
If you're a fan of the NHL, if you are a hockey aficionado, you know many of the names that play for Team Sweden in these Olympic Games. Now, they got off to a little bit of a dicey start to begin their Olympic tournament. They took on the host country in their first game. Italy had an early lead, but Sweden playing for that 8th and final spot in our quarterfinal round. Technically, it's all been knockout, but officially down to the last 8 starting tomorrow in the quarterfinals. It is win or go home. If you lose, it's not group play anymore. There is not another opportunity. You are out. And we talked to JD at West Coast Hockey, NHL betting analyst, hockey extraordinaire here on VSiN. And he told us, Femi, that if you're the United States, based on how the bracket was starting to play out, the team that you did not want to draw in this spot was Sweden. And here come the Swedes tomorrow in that quarterfinal matchup. All 4 quarterfinal games will be played tomorrow. Canada remains the pretty strong minus money gold medal favorite. The United States will take on Sweden starting at 3:10 p.m. Eastern time. It is going to be a test, and the Swedes looking good in a game where it actually does matter on the brink of elimination, but up 2-0 at the end of the opening 20 minutes. Very exciting stuff now as we get deeper into the Milan Olympics, especially in the hockey tournament.
Yeah, I mean, JD, he was not impressed with what he had seen from the United States. Same with me. And I'm not just saying that because I lost my live bet on Saturday when we were sweating that out over at Bar Canada. I'm just watching it as I'm not the hockey aficionado, but I also still have eyeballs and I've seen hockey games. Given the fact that we're much better than Denmark, I did not come away impressed with how we played in that game. So we'll see what they have. I'm still of the belief that Canada is likely going to be your gold medal winner. Market believes that as well, but we'll see if we get that matchup between the U.S. and Canada. I think a lot of people want that, as we saw a hell of a game this time last year during the Four Nations face-off that saw Canada and Connor McDavid win that game in overtime just a year ago. So we'll see what happens with these Olympics, but right now looking pretty good for Sweden against Latvia. It's also pretty good, Ben, what our friends over at Upside are doing. Like, they're taking care of the people, which is what we try to do here at VSiN as well. And every time you fill up your tank, you could be earning real cash back with the free Upside app. Just download Upside from the App Store or Google Play, claim an offer at a nearby station, start and earning instantly with promo code SPORTS. You'll get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. Many drivers earning $200 to $300 a year just from gas purchases they were already making. It's simple, it's fast, and you can cash out anytime to your bank account or e-gift cards like Amazon. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code SPORTS or for your 25 cent per gallon bonus. Offers vary by user and location. See upside.com for the details. We love extra money in our pockets, and the way to get extra money, which is what we love to do, is to bet on sports. And bet on tonight's college basketball slate. It is time for our best bets for the college basketball slate that we have coming up here this evening. Ben, I'll give you the honors first. What do you like tonight? And I got a robust card. I don't know how many bets you have. I was counting earlier. I have 11 bets. Like, I call me degenerate, whatever you want to call me. I like a lot on the board tonight, but we'll let you kick us off here. What do you like and why?
I think it's only fair that I kick us off just so I can save you time, Femi Abebefe, for the gigantic card that you have for a gigantic Tuesday evening of college basketball. 30 Division I games, 11 featuring a ranked team, or 11 ranked teams in action, including a top 10 tilt tonight inside Mackey Arena between number 7 Purdue and new number 1 Michigan. I am going to a team that just dropped out of the AP top 25. Frankly, I feel a little bit unfairly as Kentucky, who was 25th in the country this past week, only played 1 game. Now, as a ranked team once again, it was against Florida Femi in a game on Saturday afternoon that you and I were tracking. In Kentucky now back at home, insider up as a 6.5-point favorite against Georgia. Yes, the Cats did lose to Florida, but a lot of teams have lost to Florida lately, 10-2 in the SEC atop the conference standings. The only thing the Wildcats did against the Gators that nobody else in the SEC has done, in a game that Florida won, a team covered that was not UF. It was Kentucky covering in that game, keeping it more competitive than expected with a pregame 12.5-point spread. I think this Cats team is solid. They've won 4 straight back at home tonight against a Georgia team that started the year 13-1, is 4-7 since, has dropped 5 of its last 6. I think Kentucky's in a great bounce-back spot, laying 6.5 at home in Lexington tonight. I'll lay the number with Big Blue Nation and Mark Pope. Elsewhere, I cannot get enough of this game in the ACC. One of our 11 ranked teams in action tonight, number 21 Louisville on the road in Dallas against SMU. Points, pace, offense, and some more points. 166.5 is that total, Femi. The Cards are a 4.5-point favorite. What I will say, the sharp betting handle all over the Stangs at home tonight in Dallas. But both teams want to get out there and run. Louisville takes 53% of their overall field goal tries from 3-point range. It is the 4th highest clip in the country. SMU allows opponents to shoot the 3 at more than 46% of their shots. It is bottom 20 or the 20th highest defensively in college basketball. It is a great recipe for Louisville, but I think SMU is also going to add it up as well. Over a pretty lofty total of 166.5 tonight in Dallas. So my 2 favorite plays of the day, Kentucky minus 6.5 or 7 and a hook, where I got it earlier, SMU, Louisville over 166.5.
I absolutely love it there. I have a play on that SMU Louisville game that I'll get to here shortly. Not on the total, but on the side. But let's go ahead and go down the potpourri of bets that I have. Once again, 11 of them. We'll start off with the big game over on Peacock. I like Purdue tonight. And I'm saying this as like Mr. Michigan guy. I have loaded up on Michigan to win the national title, but in this particular spot, give me the Boilermakers. You can find a 3 out there. Make sure you shop around and get the best number. I took Boilermakers plus 3. I just don't like the spot for Michigan with Duke coming up on deck on Saturday. I think Purdue is going to slow down the tempo, efficient offensively. It's more of a hunch than anything. I just see Purdue giving Michigan an L tonight. If you want to do some money line as well, by all means, knock yourself out. But give me Purdue plus the 3. Also in BC and Florida State, I like the under 148 in that ACC matchup. I know FSU likes to get up and down, but let's fade them off the outlier offensive performance against Virginia Tech. We were both on that game on Saturday. We loved FSU against against Vatek. They shot the hell out of the basketball. I don't see that happening, even though they are at home. Don't have the stones to really back BC and make it a full fan of FSU. I'll just fade both teams and play the under 148. In the Big East, I'll lay 4 with Villanova against Xavier. Loved Xavier on Saturday. That was one of my favorite plays against Marquette. Fading them tonight. I just think Nova's a little bit cheap here. They'll shoot it much better than what they did against Creighton, so I like Xavier on the road over there at the Cintas Center. And then in the ACC, a play that I talked about with Ben on Saturday, NC State laying 6.5 against North Carolina. Probably my favorite bet of the night. You can find 6.5 out there. This is the spot after the Fallen Heroes spot. We were both on North Carolina against Pitt Saturday. First game without Caleb Wilson. What are they going to do? They rose to the occasion. But the spot after that spot is usually when the team falls flat on their face. I think this is a banger spot for the Wolfpack. I like it with NC State. I took 4 with SMU against Louisville. Give me the Mustangs at home down there in DFW. I'll lay the 3 with Miami of Ohio against UMass. I laid 8 with Miami against Virginia Tech. That is Miami, Florida. And then I like the over 139.5 between UCLA and Michigan State. I'll lay 1.5 with Iowa against Nebraska. Give me the over 159.5 with Baylor and Kansas State. And then finally, for a little late night action, Arizona State forks up plus 8.5 against Texas Tech. Like this, as the Tech are coming off the spot where they beat Arizona Saturday night. So that is my full college basketball card. Let's eat tonight, Ben, and let's go out there and cash some tickets on the other side. Make sure you stay tuned with us here on VSiN. We'll follow the money with Stormy Bonatoni and Jonathan Von Tobel here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.